The second guest is currently Director for Innovation, International Cooperation and Sport at the European Commission, who is well aware of the reality of the region, coming from Bulgaria herself. Please welcome Ms.Antoaneta Angelova-Krasteva.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let me thank Minister Deskuska for the very warm, welcoming words. I'm extremely happy to be here in Macedonia and actually to personally experience the Pearl Ohrid, such a beautiful place. And I very much hope that you all do the same. Dear rectors, professors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the European Commission, I would like to welcome you today at this kickoff event and thank you for taking part in the official meeting of the Western Balkans Alumni Association. It is a pleasure for me to be here after having met most of the members of the association last year in Belgrade during our annual ministerial meeting. I was already impressed back then by their motivation, determination and dedication to shape this wonderful initiative into something concrete. I strongly believe that this initiative will be very useful in the future, not only for regional stakeholders, but also for EU policymakers and most importantly, for young people from the region. This is an initiative of young people for young people, which makes it even more important and valuable. As some of you already know, the idea to create an alumni association was decided back in 2015 by the ministers of education of the 6 Western Balkan countries. They asked the European Commission for help to set up a regional alumni organization which would gather young talents having benefited from a mobility period abroad, funded by EU programs such as the famous Erasmus Plus program, but also the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions and the Young Civil Servant Scheme. This proves that bringing ministers and policy makers together to discuss common challenges, to share best practices, and to make new commitments leads to excellent initiatives and concrete results. And more importantly, it helps drive the required reform processes ahead. The objectives of this new alumni association are multiple. I will not go through them because I'm sure that most of you know them. But what I would like to say here is that I very well imagine the tremendous amount of work that the young volunteers, the VIBA national representatives, as they call themselves, have done to set up the Regional Alumni Association. And I would encourage them to keep up their enthusiasm, professionalism, and excellent work, as the results of their efforts will very soon be visible. To start with, we all have to congratulate the VIBA national representatives that they have managed to gather over 300 participants coming from the entire region in the same venue today. And I hope that you, the representatives from ministries, universities, the rectors, the professors, the student unions, and the business representatives will offer them the support and cooperation they need for their activities. The launch of this new association takes place at a very timely moment, after the adoption of the new strategy for the Western Balkans by the European Commission a bit over a month ago. The strategy reinforces the EU's intention to give a credible enlargement perspective to the whole region. It goes without saying that this is equally important for the European Union, as well as for our partners in the Western Balkans. As Commissioner Hahn has put it, giving a credible enlargement perspective to the region is a geographical investment in a strong, united Europe based on common values. However, for this to happen, a tough and comprehensive transformation of the Western Balkans partners will be required. There are clear criteria that need to be met, and the progress of the Western Balkan countries on their way to the European Union accession will fully depend on the reforms they will undertake and the concrete results they will achieve. The visit to the region of the President of the European Commission, Mr. Jean-Claude Juncker, 2 weeks ago reinforced the strong message behind the strategy. During his tour to the 6 capitals, President Juncker confirmed the European perspective of the Western Balkans and encouraged all partners to deepen the reforms while keeping in mind that substance matters over speed. As someone coming from a new member state, as this was already mentioned, and someone who has personally participated in the accession process of her country, I know very well that it takes a country and its people a lot of hard work, courage, energy, commitment to implement the necessary reforms and to meet the EU accession criteria. And I also know very well the key role and support of the Commission in these endeavors. And I would like to very briefly highlight those concrete actions listed in the strategy that will be supported by the European Commission and are particularly relevant to us here today, as they focus on education. These are, for example, the foreseen doubling of the funding under the Erasmus Plus program for the Western Balkans, the establishment of a mobility program for vocational education and training for learners and staff, and this means that the VET learners and staff will be able to go on mobility from the Western Balkans to other parts of Europe and the other way around. We'll also further support and increase the scope of the Regional Youth Cooperation Office, RYCO, which has an important role to play in the area of reconciliation. Let me just share with you that RYCO announced last month the pre-selection of their first 35 proposals. We are looking forward to hear more about their future activities in order to increase our cooperation and possible synergies. The Western Balkans will also be included into the European Week of Sport, which will take place later in September, and we will launch an EU Western Balkans Heritage Route, comprising a series of events celebrating cultural heritage in all its forms. These are great initiatives as they promote common European values and help create a strong European identity. By including the Western Balkans, we are contributing to enhancing cooperation amongst European partners and to more people-to-people contacts. As already noted, the path to EU accession is a long and a challenging one. It requires lots of reforms in various areas of any country's political, economic, and social life. In light of this, it is important to keep in mind that education and training are at the very heart of any meaningful reform. Since without proper education and training, without competent teachers and educated citizens, our societies cannot thrive and achieve any of the major strides we are aiming for. With great satisfaction and delight, I have to know that education and training is high on the agenda of the European Union. For the first time during the Gothenburg summit last November, the European leaders put education and culture at the center of their discussions. On this occasion, President Juncker noted that education is how we turn circumstances into opportunity, how we turn mirrors into windows, and how we give roots to what it means to be European in all its diversity. Furthermore, at Gothenburg, it was agreed that education and culture are key drivers for job creation, economic growth, social fairness, and ultimately closer cooperation and greater unity in Europe. So work in the field of education and training is definitely important for Europe too. And in the context of our cooperation with the Western Balkans region, it is clear that we'll have a lot of work in the months and years to come in order to shape and implement the much needed reforms. Counting on relevant stakeholders from the region, such as the Western Balkans Alumni Association, will be really crucial. And once again, as a Bulgarian, I'm also very happy to know that the European perspective of the Western Balkans is amongst the top priorities of the Bulgarian presidency of the Council of the European Union. And in line with this new political impetus, several important events will be organized in the coming months, and these are worth mentioning. Firstly, this is the EU Western Balkans Summit, which will take place in Sofia on the 17th of May. And this will be the first time in 15 years that the leaders of the 28 EU member states and the 6 Western Balkan countries will meet together since the meeting in Thessaloniki in 2003. Secondly, the European Commission will also be organizing the annual 7th ministerial meeting under the Western Balkan platform on education and training in June in Brussels. And finally, the ministerial event will be followed by an annual Western Balkan Summit of the Berlin Process on the 10th of July in London. This event will tackle various issues, including reconciliation and good neighboring relations. And it will bring together the 6 leaders of the region with a number of leaders from the member states. I'm sure there'll be many more events and spin-off activities as a result of these big summits. And this is a proof that this year will be politically dense year, and we expect all of you to support this process as best as you can. So before I conclude with these introductory remarks, I would like to thank all colleagues both in the Western Balkans and in the European Commission who have worked hard and helped make this project come to life. I would also like to thank all the young people in this room, as I know that some of you spent up to 12 hours in buses to get here today. I would like to wish the best of luck and success of the Western Balkans Alumni Association and its members. It will be hard work, but you can rely on our support and cooperation. And I'm already looking forward to attend your first year anniversary in March 2019, where I'm sure you'll be one step closer to being one of the major change makers in the region. Thank you very much for your attention.